and cannabis might help along the way, but you can't discount them altogether. So yeah, it's a very, very important point. And I like that you're doing that.
That's the tension of the plant in general, that it is, I have one of my board members, very smartly points out that an individual may be using medical cannabis to treat a particular condition. And if their intake is through smoking it, they can hand that to the next person. It suddenly could become that person's recreation. And that's the tension and ultimately the confusion that we have in the market and with consumers. And it goes back to, we have to destigmatize where people need it as a medical benefit.
Yeah, well, the same can be said for the pharmaceuticals too. It's like one person's painkiller is another person's recreation, and that digresses too. The addiction problem in this country is just phenomenal. Oof.
You're right.
Yeah, but it's actually sad because that is also criminalized to the extent that it shouldn't be. And I'm sort of an advocate for decriminalizing all drug use, because drug use, people are drawn to drugs because of something that's going on in their lives. And, maybe it's a medical condition that they need treatment for, great. But maybe it's a psychological problem that they're looking to sort of numb out the pain of the brain, if you will. I didn't mean to make a rhyme there, but people are drawn to certain mind-altering experiences because of either a deeper desire to get into their creative side, which is one part of it, but then also a deeper desire to just numb out whatever's going on in their lives. And that's not a criminal thing. That's not something that should be considered a criminal thing. That should be considered a mental health thing. And I think that one of the things that the cannabis industry can do is help to destigmatize mental illness as well. So that's got to be part of the conversation down the road. And we're seeing how it's helping veterans, for example, deal with PTSD. And PTSD is a mental health condition that was brought on by trauma, obviously, right? So if people start talking about that in a way that cannabis is not stigmatized when you're talking about veterans and healing them with the pain from war, then maybe that can lead to other discussions that deal with addiction as a way for people to cope with pain in general and take it out of the criminal realm. And we've got so many problems in our society. I'm sorry I go into these things, but I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
Listen, there's a group of doctors that have organized around cannabis. They're not pro-legalization. They are anti-prohibition, which I think is what you're saying as well. And their point is prohibition doesn't work. Make the plant available for research, for the medical community to learn more and to understand, to keep consumers safe, and potentially to benefit consumers in many other ways. And I think that's a really interesting point of view. So, but then if you're wrapping it up into all other drugs, it probably becomes incredibly complicated. And look what's happening with just CBD at the moment and how complicated it is.
Yeah.
So, but so much has changed in such a short period of time, even within, even talk about the past 5 or 6 years. So, if CBD interest has grown 100% year over year with consumers, and it'll probably continue on that path. You have to see all of this, the velocity of legalization, or at least a prohibition going away in our future.
Well, I'm looking forward to that day very much. We all have so much to learn still, and the sky is the limit. So on Cannabis MD, are you also delving into some of the science behind more sustainable product production, for example, and think that ultimately have something to do with health? Or are you mainly just focused on the medical as it applies to like the human body?
Well, I think what certainly focused on the impact that medical cannabis or CBD can have on the human body. and either from an ailment perspective or overall health in some way. But we are very human focused in that respect versus going beyond that, where there may be other applications. Not to say that we wouldn't cover that as we move on. That's certainly, if you're curious about one thing, you're going to be curious about the next. And we want to make sure that we're addressing consumer need across the board.
The reason that I was asking about that is because we have some issues with like GMOs and glyphosate and stuff like that, that cannabis, CBD particularly, can help to protect developing brains from the damage that is caused by consuming GMO products or consuming meat, for example, that has been tainted with hormones and that sort of thing. So I was just curious if you were going to take that as a vertical in your platform to address some of those issues that ultimately do affect human health.
Well, I think so much of this is going to fall under what's happening from a regulatory perspective. And for that, we will absolutely cover it because it does have an impact on your health.
Right. That makes sense. Totally. So are there any last thoughts, anything that you really have a burning desire to let our audiences know?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, it is, and you've said this as well, that it is a remarkable time, that it's very hard to compare what's happening in culture right now. The fact that this is hitting consumers from all different demographics, all different kinds of need states, what it's doing from a regulatory perspective, the discussions that are happening sort of at all levels of government around it, and how we're creating an entirely new category and new industry. And the innovation that is coming out of that is so exciting. And I think that should be inspiring to people, no matter where they sit on the fence, on which side of the fence with respect to legalization or not, or if they would consider it for their health and wellness. Just overall, the positive impact it's having on innovation, on helping people, it's saving lives in some cases, and pushing culture forward in a really interesting way. And that should be celebrated.
You're absolutely right about that. And I think that we have so much to look forward to in this industry. And I feel really blessed to be in it and to be experiencing this phase in our history, because I think we will look back on the Prohibition days and go, oh my God, what were they thinking? And I think that it will be universally accepted very soon, at least, I hope. And I think we can look forward to, if not descheduling, at least a rescheduling of cannabis across the board with respect to the Controlled Substances Act. And I'd like to see CBD being treated like vitamin C. So that, because really it is. And I read a Forbes article recently where they said that the study that was done to get approval from the FDA for Epidiolex showed that there was some liver compromise when it came to that particular drug. And so the article headline was CBD causes liver damage. And I was curious about that. So I went back into that study, which I had read cover to cover several times because I just wanted to really understand what it was that Epidiolex had done. And I don't think it was just the CBD. I think it was the other components of that particular medicine. But it wasn't clear when I read the study. So it would be interesting for someone to go back and do another study just with CBD without any other components and a completely natural extraction, like a steam extraction process, steam made with the purified water, so that you've got a very pure cannabinoid to test against the liver to prove or disprove that particular theory. Because I'd hate for people to all of a sudden go, oh, well, CBD causes liver damage, I'm not going to take it because I might be at risk. Maybe somebody who's had hepatitis before or something like that. So there's just so much for us to learn. And I think that once this goes into medical schools and the study of the endocannabinoid system, which, by the way, of course, is the 7th largest system in the human body, that is so intimately related to our ability to control our own immune system and neurological health and everything else. But I think that once they start demanding that medical doctors learn about the endocannabinoid system, it's going to open up a lot of those doors for the research, and we will get some answers to these things that have been myths for some time now. So it'll be interesting.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's about time to start wrapping this up, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what else you do at Cannabis MD, and I'll definitely let people know where to find you when I post this online. But I really appreciate your time today, and I thank you for joining me.
No, Snowden, thank you. I loved the conversation.
Yeah, this was great, Michael. Thank you so much. And I had a great time, too.
Thanks, Snowden.
So, once again, it is time to bring yet another show to a close. I would personally like to thank my guest, Michael Klein, for sharing his insights and knowledge with us today. If you'd like to learn more about the work that he's doing, please visit us online at thecannabisreporter.com. Click podcast to find today's episode, and there you will find his bio along with information and a link to his website. We have so many people to thank. First, I'd like to express our gratitude for our radio sponsors, Canosphere Biotech and Sunstate Technology Group. We certainly couldn't be doing this without you. I'd also like to thank our theme composer, Eric Goodall, and the team here at the Cannabis Reporter Radio Show for always making us shine. And it goes without saying just how much we appreciate our programming directors at XRQK Radio Network and Society Bites Radio for distributing our show. And last but not least, thanks to all of you for listening. I'm Snowden Bishop, inviting you to join me again next week, same time, same place, for another episode of the Cannabis Reporter Radio Show. Until we meet again, be safe, stay informed, share what you've learned, and make it a great day. Evergreen's calling. Evergreen's calling. Evergreen's calling.
You're busy, running around from work to kids to evening events. Healthcare shouldn't be adding to your daily running around. Simplify your healthcare with Healthterra. For only $15 per month per individual or $18 per month per family with up to 9 kids, by the way, you can eliminate doctor office visits with 24/7 access to doctors via phone, video, or the mobile app. Not only do you get prescriptions filled over the phone, but save up to 85% on those prescriptions. This is a supplemental plan and not insurance. Healthcare made easy. Healthterra.com.